Welcome to Stop Hiding, Start Shining. This is a roundtable masterclass where you get to learn easy techniques to help you unleash your brilliance, step into the spotlight, and let your success shine by using visibility and authority building positioning techniques online and offline. We have an amazing group of experts that are joining us for this episode of Stop Hiding, Start Shining. And I have to let you know that right now, the four experts, including me, we understand the importance of having authority in your industry as the go-to expert so you can easily step into the spotlight, unleash your brilliance, and be your true self while making great money because you're attracting your perfect people. I'm Jasper Dayton. I'm an innovative billion-dollar brand builder and founder of BrandWorks Productions, where I've cracked the code of building a brand that works hard for you by following my magnetic brand map, which stands for, it's a framework that stands for memorable attraction positioning that is specifically for wellness entrepreneurs, visionaries, and game changers that are obsessed with finding better ways to solve problems, design products and services that create great money while helping the people they love working with. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've simplified the process of building a brand that works hard for you, that attracts the people that you love working with by taking the dream that's stuck in your head and transform it so you can easily hold it in your hands and make people say, wow, I want that. And they keep coming back for more. So get ready. We're about to take you on a wonderful journey with this masterclass where many people took away so many ahas and so many amazing things that they could put into action right now, where they could build their authority, be memorable, be seen, so they can stop hiding, start shining, and unleash the brilliance so that they can step into the spotlight and be their true selves. I'm glad you're joining me. And here we go. Welcome. We're going to have so much fun together. Welcome. We are going to have so much fun together. And this is the Stop Hiding, Start Shining, Unleash Your Brilliance, Step into the Spotlight, and Shine like the superstar you truly are. And I am honored because we have some pretty amazing people with us today that I get to introduce you to. And first, I wanted to introduce you to, we have Sean Cowdrey. Sean is somebody that is extra special in the fact that she has made some major courageous moves in her life. And she is the CEO of Center of Liberation, a global advisory. She's coaching and mentorship business owners, and she empowers women leaders and change makers to leverage their power, scale their income, and influence their lives for greater success, wealth, and transformative impact in the communities that they serve. And as an international keynote speaker, Sean gives women permission to play even bigger and more visible ways and fall in love with their own power. So thank you, Sean, for being here. And we also have Ruth Stern. Today, we're honored to introduce Ruth. She is a powerhouse in the world of mindset coaching and mental health therapy. Ruth's coaching program, Evolve and Manifest, is a game changer designed to unleash your full potential, ignite your magnetism, and pave the way for achieving emotional fulfillment. Looking forward to diving into the information, Ruth, and everything that you're about to share with us that is going to leave us ready to conquer not only the world, but conquer our inner selves and show up as our true self. And Dr. Doreen, I am so honored to have you here, and you're going to help us ignite the stage of life, and plus the stage that in front of an audience, our perfect people, our audience that we love to be connecting with. And you have a background in psychology and a passion for empowering others. And you're here to take us to a whole nother level when it comes to public speaking. And we're going to roll up our sleeves today, and we're going to unlock the secrets of fearless speaking. So I can't wait. And thank you for everyone for being here. And first, I want to start with you, Sean. Now, you have quite the journey that you have taken, and you are from South Africa, and we're going to soon hear the accent, the beautiful accent that you have. And there's certain things that you do that have helped people stand in their power. And in your experience, what are two of the key elements that are necessary for someone to step into their power and start shining?
Yeah, thanks. So great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. I think such an important question. Number one, I would say, know your relationship to power. Understand for you effectively what is your relationship to power, and explore that deeply for yourself. This is an inside job before it's an outside job. And so by deeply understanding, when I say know your relationship to power, it's about knowing yourself. So for example, what do you believe about yourself and power? What do you believe? Do you believe that it's shameful? Do you believe that it's manipulative? Do you believe that it's controlling? Or do you believe it's for the greater good? So as soon as you start unpacking that question, you start to see what it is that your relationship to power, and your relationship, importantly, to your power. So that's first and foremost. So I spend a lot of time with my clients exploring that relationship and exploring the belief sets, because there's layers and layers and layers based on our own experience of what our relationship is to power. And power is effectively, I'm talking about your divine power, your beingness. So I'm talking about the feminine divine. It's big power. It's your soul. It's your magnificence. It's your light. And so if we have low shadow thoughts, I call them shadows, about our power and how we show up, then that is going to impact your ability to be fully present in the bigness of who you are, and in the space of who you are. And so that would be the first thing. The second aspect of that is that you're going to be having to be willing to step into leaning into your edges. And what this means is, and this ties into very much, let's call it trust. There's 3 dimensions to trust, but I'm going to focus on trusting yourself. I'm not going to focus on the other 2 dimensions. But trusting yourself is that when that call of your heart comes, when that vision of your heart comes and is saying to you, it's time to be bigger than what you currently are, it's time for you to have a bigger impact, bigger influence, get more money, ask for the promotion, it doesn't matter what that is, you will have something that's on repeat. But it's saying to you, now you're going to have to step into the unknown. You're going to have to step into the void. You're going to have to step into a place you haven't been before, because the current version of yourself needs to evolve, expand, needs to evolve into new resources and be a new up-leveled version of yourself because you're ready for it. Let's come back to trust. And we get so afraid of trusting ourselves in our ability to change the job, change the house, get more wealth. We find a lot of disconnect in that space. So if you just look at those levels of what is your relationship to power and your belief systems, link it into how do you trust yourself. I call it energetic leaks. I call it splitting the field. Just in that iteration, you're going to be able to see where are you energetically leaking your power based on those 2 things. And the journey then becomes around how do you not split the field. You've got to bring those elements into alignment so that you can evolve and become the next iteration and version. And that process of leaning into the edges, leaning into the unknown, leaning into that big choice or decision means that then you start to bring those into alignment, and you start to call back your power in those spaces.
That is perfect. And so splitting, you call that, what are we splitting?
The field.
The
field.
I love that. And I want to learn more about the field and what it has and how it plays in us stepping into our power. But I'm sure that it has a lot to do with our magnetic field, Ruth, which you definitely are the expert on. And so what are the 2 essential keys for becoming magnetic, Ruth?
So again, there's a lot of features, but I'll cover 2. That if you want to be a magnetic speaker, a magnetic connector, even if it's one-on-one, it doesn't matter what it is. There are 2 big things that I think are just so important. One is first to understand, before I give the 2, first to understand that if you want to present in a way that people are listening and hearing you and you're connecting and eventually hopefully become your clients as well, that if you're holding yourself back, there are belief systems that you have that may be unknown to you that's holding you back. So in other words, you can have all the strategies in the world, but if you have a belief system that says, I can't be out there, this is not safe, I don't feel I have enough to offer, it will cut out your magnetism. So 2 things that you can already do to be more magnetic is number 1 is presence. Presence is about getting out of your head and into your core. The core is really where your intuition lives. Because if you're speaking from that place, you're speaking more powerfully, more authentically. When you're speaking from your head, it's just a bunch of words you're spouting out. So how we get present is one technique you can use, and people who are watching the video can do this. When you breathe in, let your belly extend out. And when you breathe out, let your belly go in. That's the proper way to breathe. So as you breathe in, imagine breathing into your lower belly, kind of the womb space, breathing a full breath. And as you breathe out, going back out the womb. So it's like a full evolved circle. And to do a few breaths like that, breathing in through your womb space and then out back. And so you're moving into that core energy rather than your mind. So what that does is it grounds you, it gets you still, it helps you connect better instead of letting the mind spin and take you to different places. Oh, I'm centered. I feel safe. And they've actually done studies on this that people who are grounded and stay present, people pay attention more, they feel more connected, they trust you more, and you actually feel much more comfortable when you're presenting as well. So, the second piece to become a magnetic speaker in whatever you're doing is to speak from your heart. And what I do when I speak, I imagine that there's like a light beam connecting to the audience, you, and the light beam from your heart to mine. So there's an automatic connection. I'm connecting with you. And that everything that I speak from comes from my heart rather than, again, my head. So when you combine presence and heart, you're already magnetic because you're coming from this authentic, radiant energy rather than just a bunch of words. That's a start.
I love that. And that's a great way, using our breath to ground ourselves, and then absolutely to drop into our heart so that we do create that connection with the people that we're communicating with, whether it's on the stage or it's one-on-one or it's on the phone. I would think that would be important. And Dr. Doreen, is that a wonderful way to eliminate what we call the jitters or the stage fright? My son calls it stage fear or something like that. It even starts when we're young, when we're 7 years old. So is there breath work that we can do before we get in front of an audience that is going to be helpful for that?
Yes, I think if we did nothing other than what Ruth just told us, I think that in the moment is what can work. But I think in the work that I do, it's important to go to the underlying roots. How did that anxiety first develop? That we develop confidence not just naturally. We develop confidence by the way people are treating us, interacting in the world. We're social beings, and we come out and we go goo goo gaga, and nobody's saying, shut up, little one, But sometimes when we start using words, people do begin to, or parents or teachers or, whatever our natural exuberance is. Or I know that Sean talks about the divine, and I love that sense of essence. Our spirit, let's just put it as spirit, our spirits as little kids, and how we are, I'm using fingers here, how we are contained and how we are stopped and how we are tapped down from the essence of who we are. That to me feels like the roots of our speaking anxiety, because we say hello, and is there an echo? Or do we hear, what is there a hello back? So that to me feels like, yes, it's important to have techniques for the now, for what you need immediately. And that's part of what I also train. But I think the first part of my programs is always about let's treat what originally happened so that you don't carry it into every conversation that you're having now.
Yes. And just having that freedom of self-expression.
Yes.
As young people, and how we were shut down for some strange reason. But I'm sure that we have that programming in our head of, you can't do that. You can't be seen. You can't say that. You're not, hearing that voice And so, Sean, I wanted to ask you with that, when you, from your own experience and the whole reason why you are taking a stand for helping people making a transformative impact, what are some common misconceptions people have and how can they overcome those?
So it's such a great question. And I think common misconceptions is that we are going to be rejected, abandoned, that it's not safe to be powerful. So the underlying fear and anxiety that we carry in ourselves, that's probably carried through lifetimes, that we in this lifetime are not safe. And this talks very much to our core wounds. And I think we've all alluded to it on this conversation. Where's the disconnect happening? Where's the splitting from the field? Where is it that we have this core wound related to when we were powerful, that then is impacting our current life? And it won't be just one thing. I know that the clients that I work with are powerful. They've stepped into versions of themselves that are powerful, yet they're still playing somewhat small. They still come up against, let's say, the trigger points in their lives where like, oh gosh, that's anxiety. And it's to be able to be present to that and the underlying anxiety and what's triggering that anxiety, and then stopping you from stepping into that conversation, from having that conversation. And typically, like I said, it's the core wound of where have you been abandoned before? Where have you been rejected? Where have you faced significant trauma around being fully present in that space of your power and the expression of your power and your voice? And hence then the misconception, the first one is like, I'm not safe to be powerful, something bad is going to happen and this is going to be painful, and so I don't do it. I stay stuck and I don't bring the fullness of who I am. The second thing I want to just highlight is, and I can go more into that later on in the conversation around the core wound and my own experience of that, but the second thing in the context of this particular question is we were never taught as kids. We are so powerful. We've spoken around our divine essence, our divine being. Our being is a fingerprint of God. Our being is a fingerprint of source of the divine. That means we are incredibly freaking powerful just by, it's our birthright. Now, as a kid, we were never taught to love our power. And then, many of us were expressing it. So I know that many of my clients who I'm working with were phenomenal as kids. They're still phenomenal now, but they've been triggered with life experiences that have actually shut that down, disconnected it. And so learning, and it's not about learning, it's saying, hey, life is really just about taking away all the things that have shut it down and revealing your power through different situations. And then loving your fucking power. And that's my kind of keynote. And excuse my French there, but it is really like, love your power, delight in it, let it ooze out of you. And it's your power, it's your light, it's your beingness. And you have to give yourself permission. So two things: it's safe to be powerful. And the second thing is, give yourself permission to love your power, cultivate it, harness it, learn how to work with it so that you can focus it, so that you can leverage, to the point of what I do, that you leverage that to make this huge transformative impact in the world. And so saying to yourself, the second mantra, so the first one is, it's safe for me to be powerful. The second mantra I'd say that you can use and apply in your life is very much around, I'm a powerful woman, I'm a powerful man, and I love that about myself. And so that's the permission that you give yourself. And as you start to embody those elements, you'll already start to feel a shift in your energy, that in itself allows your spirit to come back in and then move into spaces with authority, with greater assertion and great ideas in terms of what you're wanting to communicate.
I am a powerful woman. And speaking that before you go out and share your voice, your viewpoint, your point of view. So I wanted to ask you, Ruth, on that, with standing in, I am a powerful woman, I am a powerful man, and creating that space. And how can, as an entrepreneur, how can they attract their ideal clients with that kind of magnetic presence?
So you're talking about the content now or in the speaking?
Well, when they want to step out into the world and they want to share their message and they are stepping into that power of, I am a powerful woman, how do they turn that into a magnetic presence that is going to attract their ideal clients, their ideal people, without it detracting them?
So it's about connecting to your magnetic qualities. Everybody has different kinds of qualities. Some people are very extroverted and really out there. Some people are quietly powerful but introverted. It doesn't matter. You can be highly magnetic no matter who you are. A lot of people think, "Oh, I have to be like a Tony Robbins," but you don't. It's just being who you are, and it's whether it's quirky or funny or quietly introspective. There's many qualities, and it's really understanding what are the qualities that I feel comfortable in, that I have been holding back, that I want to express more, because then you're being really you. So, for example, I can be funny. And when I started doing video on YouTube channel, I didn't want to be funny because I thought people would reject me or I would look silly. I just had a lot. And then I started thinking about that and I started watching other YouTube videos where people were doing other kinds of things. And I went, well, look at them. Why can't I be me? And the more I was me on video, and now I've produced hundreds of videos, first of all, it was so much more enjoyable to do YouTube. But here was the most amazing thing. I stopped editing. Most of my videos are not edited. So I will have hair in my face and I do this. I cough. It doesn't matter. I say the words wrong. I say, let's look through the forest through the trees, or is it the trees through the forest? I said, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, I'm just allowing myself to be me. Now, here's what's interesting. And I didn't share this before, but I have a small channel. It's about over 1,000 people. And at one point, I was doing a big program. I still have the program on healing insomnia. And there's a bigger guy. He has 500,000 followers, and I have 1,000. He also does stuff on insomnia and other things. But I found out later that YouTube pulls your videos up when people listen to your content. This is why it's so important to be magnetic. And I was looking one day, just sporadically, and I put in insomnia. His comes up first, and mine was right under him. And under me was another woman with 12,000 followers. And I didn't understand it until I knew, oh, they put your video up higher because people are listening to content. And most of my content is telling my story. So to be magnetic is also sharing your story, because when you share your story, your right fit clients, they see you, they say, "Oh my God, she gets me. I'm relating to this problem." And people stay on, because nowadays with all social media, many people just go, whoops, they scroll very fast. But if you capture their attention with your authentic message and you're sharing good story to illustrate it, people stay on. And I've actually had people hire me from YouTube video. It's amazing.
That is, that is, and
So
the story is very powerful, and it is true on creating that connection because they relate. Can you share a little bit more about that?
yeah, the story that I used with the insomnia was my story, that I had suffered 19 years of insomnia, which is unbelievable. I mean, how do you exist with 19 years no sleep? And I shared my story of I tried everything and nothing worked till I learned this amazing technique, which I still use to this day, which is called tapping. And it literally, I did it for 45 days religiously. Tapping takes about 10 minutes, for those of you who don't know, and it's working with the energy centers and healing the nervous system. And in 45 days, I healed all insomnia and got off the medicine that I was on, which was a very bad medicine. It was an addictive medicine. And it's been 17 years now that I sleep like a normal person. And when a lot of people who was true insomniacs listened to that, they were like, oh my God, because like me, they had tried so many of the same things, and people were contacting me, still are. How did you do that? So story, a compelling story, and a story from your heart, they feel it. They feel it. They feel your message.
Yeah, they can
Yeah.
feel the energy. And along with that, Dr. Doreen, I believe you can speak into the difference between, with our eye contact, just how we have eye contact, and then we also have extraordinary eye presence, the secret. So how is that the secret to captivating your audience?
Well, you did pin it down that I don't call it eye contact, because eye contact in our own brains, it feels like we are already looking rather than being with somebody. So I like to say a soft gaze, softly gaze at the people that you're speaking with. I'm not saying speaking to. And I think that's a lot of what we're talking about today, is the withness, the connectedness, that we are speaking is not just something that we are delivering to somebody. It's something, it's an interaction that we're engaging, even a large audience, and we're doing that. And we didn't talk about this yet too, but is one person at a time. And it's really a series of having these conversations with individuals, even if it's a large audience. So softly gazing at an individual in my audience helps them see that I am paying attention to them, that they matter to me, and that it's like I'm smiling in my heart. I'm welcoming them, and my eyes are softly gazing. I'm not looking and I'm not staring, and I don't call it eye contact. I think for me, helping to remember that I'm gazing softly helps me realize that I can go into part of what Ruth is talking about, that magnetic presence. I feel more magnetic when I see myself as softly gazing at people. So I would say that that is a trick that I mean, it's a tip, a trick that I think is one of the most significant, that changing the whole idea of looking at, instead being with, eye to eye. And what Sean talks about, aren't the eyes the mirror? Don't they talk about it being the entrance to energetically something much deeper within? And if I'm gazing softly at them into their jewels, then I'm saying, wow, look at what's inside of you. Oh, it's like I'm in awe of the people that are listening to me. And if I can do that, speaking is a whole different experience.
Yes, it is. And there's one little tip that I can share with you on the connecting with your eyes, not eye contact. And I love your the eye presence, is a lot of our stages are video and being heard, and allowing that audience to know that, because we're delivering our message, really one person is listening to us. So we're really having a conversation with one person, and how we can connect with the lens, which is the hardest thing for people to do, is wherever our finger is pointing to, wherever it gets bigger, that's where we look. And we can put a little dash on our camera, and then we'll always look there and connect rather than looking down at the person. And that will make a more impactful connection on the stage, whether it's video or on camera or anything like that. So thank you for sharing that. You reminded me of that
Yes.
Connecting with the lens is just like connecting with the eyes. And so that's perfect. And then what I do remember, and I just wanted to share, my son, he's going to be 9. And if I'm not looking at him while he's talking, he thinks he's not being heard.
Yes.
So that's probably the
Yes.
same as adults. We don't feel like we're being heard because the person's not connecting with us with our eyes.
Yes, that's the whole idea of having our audience feel like we're listening to them. We're watching them. We're paying attention to them. They matter.
Yes, they do. And yes, you matter. They matter. Everyone matters. And Sean, I just wanted to ask, when it comes to sharing, when you have practical strategies for our audience that's listening to us right now, that they can do right now today to harness their power and create meaningful change in their personal and professional lives, what is some things, if they're feeling like they're not heard, or that they're playing small, or they're being held small, where they want to make a big impact, what are some things that they can do right now to change that?
So beautiful. Just before I go there, can I spotlight myself? I just see I'm not actually on screen with you guys. Is that right? Do I spotlight?
We're all together. We're right here.
Oh, what did I just do? Is that good? Oh, you can see me. I can't see you. Cool. So that's such a great question. So I a couple of things that you're going to have to do is, number one, there's going to be a vision and call in your heart. Something I've mentioned it before, that's like an intuitive, there's your next. Most of us on this call, most of my clients that I'm working with, they come to me because they're like, there's something more for me. There's a bigger version of myself. I can feel it. And Jasper, as you said, like I'm hiding it. I'm small. I'm like, I'm just not getting there. And it's like constricting now. And it keeps sort of, I can't call it the rub. The rub continues to show up in my life. And I've got to make the move because I'm just too frustrated. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is what's on repeat for you. And being attentive to what's on repeat for you, very important, because that's an action and a call of your soul. It's your soul saying, hey, there's something you're going to have to lean into. It's going to make you lean into or invite you into leaning into your edge. And what I mean by that, it means it's going to ask you to go beyond the version of yourself that you currently are. And it means you're going to have to go into some healing territory. This is not to punish you. This is that you are ready to evolve into the next version of yourself. And the next version of yourself is going to have bigger conversations, to your point, bigger impact and more power, so that you can bring about that transformative impact. And so the story that I just want to share with you is this means that there is going to be a piece that you have to heal, the core wound. And it's not to be afraid of that. It's not to be afraid of the unknown. It's not to be afraid of this call of your heart that's saying, hey, I trust you. Can you trust yourself? And so, for example, you know, when I was younger, I was all of 12 and I knew that I was gay. This is some 30, 40 years ago. I'm 51 now, so I can't do the maths. But I had a lot of negative messaging. Society was very against that. And this was my core wound that I'm talking around, that all of us, as you step into the next version of yourself, you're going to address the core wound that is up for healing, so that you can then present in the world actually as a more revealed, more truthful, more aligned part of yourself. And so when I did eventually come out at the age of 19 to my parents, I kind of suspected it wouldn't be well received. And my mom and I have a fantastic relationship now, but in particular, that's a key person that, as I told her, I remember myself just basically erasing myself. So the words came out of my mouth. I was standing there in my power at 19, expressing the truth of who I was, the authentic version of myself, the voice of who I was, and literally seeing her disappointment, her shame, her own humiliation at like her daughter being gay. Again, we've come full circle. That was her journey and I had my journey, but I remember literally feeling my life force myself erase myself. And so very much from then on in, it became about where are the spaces I need to call back my power. One of them being is getting publicly visible with who I am and showing up in the beauty and the love and etc. of who I am, and then sharing my voice again. So I had to overcome that. So I share that story because practically where your soul is asking you to evolve into, it's saying you're going to call back your power in this particular thing. Can you trust that you are ready? And so I'm going to ask you to step into that space. You're going to do some healing first in that journey and working very practically with people. And then there's a very big piece around courage, because you've got to remember and reveal who you are. And it's like having courage again to show up in that authentic self. And so as you start stepping into those iterations of becoming the version of yourself, becoming the more powerful version of yourself, you're going to have to steep that onto a deep level of anchored in courage. Look in your another tool and strategy you can use is to say, okay, where in my toolbox, where have I been super courageous before? Where is that core wound that is ready to be healed? And then where in my life have I shown up courageously and made different choices and decisions in order to show up in bigger conversations? Map those resources into your current context. And so you're gonna build on that foundation. And then you're going to start inviting yourself through contemplation, meditation, getting yourself a mentor or a coach who's done it, and then exploring what are the new, more effective strategies, because there will be old coping strategies that kept you small, that kept you hiding. And then it's about cultivating the more enhanced, more relevant strategies, tools, techniques on top of the existing ones that say to you, okay, I'm going to get into public speaking. Well, to get into public speaking, that like means I've got to heal the core wound of getting in front of people again. Okay, now how do I present, stay more present? How do I become more magnetic? And so you're going to work with a coach or mentor. Don't do it alone. You just do not have to do it alone. And so now you start to develop, whether it's information that it is that you're needing to cultivate, whether it's new skills, new resources, start exploring into those specific spaces. Do you have to go study something? Where in the energetics do you need to do some healing? Where do you need to minimize, limiting beliefs? And so you can explore the layers of that. And then where is it that you start formulating a different level of worth and different level of alignment, so that you're not splitting the field, like I said initially, so that you can expend time, money, energy, and resources as you build up the new level of skill set to be able to step into that new version of yourself and take your time.
That's great. That was wonderful. Thank you for that. And Ruth, I wanted to ask you, there are certain mistakes that we make as entrepreneurs when it comes to overcoming our obstacles, being magnetic, and really we actually block our success. So what are some things that we can do? And I don't know if it's a mistake, but it might be just a blind spot. What can we do from blocking our own success and being magnetic to attract the right people for us that we should be working with?
So when people are designing their content for their speaking, for their posts, doesn't matter. These are some of the mistakes that I see that they make that keep them from people seeing them. Because we have to remember again, in social media, people scroll very quickly and we have to capture their attention. And if we don't capture their attention, they go away. And then they can't see your talents and your gifts that you have to offer because they're gone. So, one of the biggest mistakes is designing content, too much content, where we overflood them and they feel overwhelmed and they go away. And I'm personally have been guilty of that because I thought I should give them a lot of content. This is a good thing. A lot of people think that, but it's too much. So to really start thinking about one, two, or three at the most key things that you want to share and deep dive in there. But that's not enough. You also want to give content with to inspire them. Like I was talking about before, a story that illuminates the content. Then they can relate to that. They can feel themselves in that piece and they go, oh, yeah, I'm getting that. That's who I am. That's the problem that I have. So a story can illuminate the content. But other things that are also really important is not just to educate them, but also to challenge our clients with their ideas. So challenging them the mistakes that they make in that particular thing. Like I'm talking about now, the mistakes you might make with content. So the number one biggest mistake you make in trying to lose weight. What could that mistake be? They're curious. What is that? I was watching an ad and he was saying, you will not lose weight if you do cardio. You will not lose weight if you stop using carbohydrates. He's saying the opposite of what we think. So he immediately pulled me in and I joined his webinar because I wanted to know. I thought it was cardio. So that's really important to challenge people, pique their interest. Talk about myths that they think. That was a myth that he was talking about, and he really engaged me. So those are some important things that you can do. So content, inspiring, and using story or peak messages that really hold their interest. What will happen is and you have to hook them from the beginning. The hook is very important. The first thing that you say, because if you start a video, a Facebook Live, whatever it is, and you start saying, you start talking about your thing, they may or may not stay. But if you start with something like, today, I'm going to show you the 3 most important steps to whatever your thing is. What are those 3? And I'm going to more likely stay instead of just talking about stuff. And if those clients stay long enough, they start to see you as a trusted, credible person an expert that they want to listen to. Eventually, you give them a gift or a consult, they're part of your list, and that's how they become eventually a paying client. So your magnetism, the way you design your content, the way you present who you are, they're not just buying your service, they're buying you. You first. I want to love you. I love the way Doreen said, we see the jewels in their eyes and they can feel it. I love how she put that. And when they feel connected to you and you have good content that's inspiring, that's the formula for more paying clients as well.
It's perfect. And so, Dr. Doreen, I really am curious about introverts. We have a label on people that are private and quiet and actually are listening very well and intently with us. I call myself, and I've been called actually by other people, an extroverted introvert. So I choose when I speak. But if you could share with me, if we have anybody that is labeling themselves as an introvert, how can they leverage their strengths and really thrive on speaking and being on stage and being, being seen? And you're muted.
Thank
There
you.
you
I
go.
muted my voice because I was coughing a little there. So, yes, this goes along with what Ruth has been talking about. Magnetism is that actually, when I did one of my initial getting over my own fear of speaking in public, I was part of a process called speaking circles where we were surrounded by people who only gave us what we call essence appreciation. And the Lee Glickstein, the founder of that process, said that evening, Doreen, you are magnetic. And that is what was naturally my essence, my spirit that was being radiating out into the group. And it wasn't about how I spoke. It wasn't about my content. It wasn't about uh, the delivery itself. It was about my being in front of people and who I was and how I spoke from, I guess, what we're talking about, from the heart, from the essence, and there's a radiance. And uh, that, because I'm an introvert and I chose to be a psychologist, partly because I liked the idea of just being with one person at a time in my office. And uh, that's also what held me back from speaking on larger stages or getting out and even doing groups for a while. And even with other psychologists, where we'd be doing case presentations going around the room. By the time it got around to about halfway and I knew it was going to be my turn, my heart was beating out of my chest and my head felt like it was just a drum pounding, pounding, pounding. So I had terrible stage fright. But as long as I had a PhD and a doctorate in psychology, nobody would guess. I could hide.
Wow.
And so my introverted self got to stay way behind. Hello, I'm a doctor and I know how to handle fear of all things, right? So I would say that introverts are very, in fact, some of the introverts have really a different kind of power. It's called quiet power, right? And it's quiet, and that kind of sense of dropping down, dropping in, and knowing who you are, and the power of introversion. There's that book, Quiet in a Noisy World. So at least we're getting respect those of us who feel like we come from a quieter space and we don't have to go rah, 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 rah. We can go, hello, hello. And there's a resonance, right? And a magnetism. So I would say I want to give introverts a a huge applause for cultivating courage to be who they are and realize the power of that.
Yes. And I know many introverts in my life, and they are powerful because they have presence. They walk in the room, they don't have to say anything, and they
Yeah.
usually don't. And they actually they have that magnetism that we've been talking about. And then people stop and then they listen because that person has not created, what do we call it? An interruption. They've created presence.
Yes,
So thank you
beautiful.
for that.
Nice.
That is. And having that presence and being able to walk into a room without saying anything and gathering the attention, I believe it also comes from self-awareness. And Sean, you are an expert when it comes to self-awareness and being able to leverage one's power with that. Do you have any exercises or tips to enhance our self-awareness?
Absolutely. So I think it's around always first of all, let me take it a step back, right? I think identifying your core wounds and where they are, and I just want to bring it back to, so for me, it was the abandonment, it was the shame around that, and really knowing, okay, where are the trigger points, where are the trauma points in my life that have shown up, that have like dimmed my light, that have stopped me radiating and letting this beautiful light of an essence of who I am shine into the world. So that comes from the reflection work. I will say, know thyself, and I think many of us have heard that term, and cultivating a practice that is relevant to you. What do I mean by that? I've spoken a few times, and I think many of us have alluded to it on this call, is just like cultivating that intuitive knowing. You have a heart, you have a being that is completely unique to you. And it really is stripping away all the things that are not unique to you, and you finding your way back to the core essence of who you are, and cultivating a practice that is about who you are. So know yourself says, okay, first of all, what are the things that are intuitively, and how do I cultivate a beautiful relationship around connecting back into my heart and connecting back to that voice of my heart and building this beautiful trusted relationship with my heart. And then inviting questions. I call it your superconscious mind. Inviting questions into your superconscious mind is the mind of the heart. It's the mind that will give you the answers. It's the messaging from your heart. Your subconscious mind, I will refer to that as your beliefs that want to shut you down, and the protectors and the managers and all of that kind of stuff. So what is your superconscious mind saying? And cultivating that relationship is the one practice. How do you do that? My practice, which I've cultivated over the years, meditation is incredibly important. I have to start with that. There's also a process of contemplation in that. So meditation is my communion with the divine, where I am taking things into meditation. I'm wanting to create or manifest or explore. Contemplation, I'm now a little bit more mindful, and I'm taking a particular thought process of what's surfaced for me in meditation. I'm taking a concept and saying, okay, now eyes wide open, and I'm talking like day-to-day life. What does that mean? And running is my contemplative practice. And I will chew and I'll go down pathways of knowing myself. And so find your mechanism where you can not just take an insight. Insight and awareness means nothing unless something becomes embodied and something changes. So what is linking into this contemplation? What other awarenesses, what other breakthroughs do you come with? Again, work with a coach, work with a mentor, be honest with yourself in that process as to what are the blocks, what are the limitations, what's the identity I believe with myself. And then it's starting to say, now practically, if I'm wanting to do something different, how do I create that vision for myself? How do I allow that vision to come into fruition? Let me get clear on that. So create clarity on what that future could look like and that future version of yourself. And then there's a process of coming into alignment with that. So what does that practically mean in terms of, okay, where do I need to be committed? Where do I give up on myself? Where are I call them failure points, where I loop back into old patterns, old thought patterns, old emotions? Where am I so addicted to my past and so addicted to fear, whatever that emotion is, that I have to unwind that and cultivate a practice where I can step across the river of change towards that future self that all the time is actually unwinding the core wound. Like I say, in my example, it was the abandonment, it was the shame around that. And so then I start to unwind the addictive emotions that are holding me stuck and the addictive thought patterns that are holding me stuck as I start to move forward. And in all that process, you slowly start to work towards that becoming process. And again, I feel like working with people who have done it before, because they've got the experience. They can become advisors, they can become mentors, and they're interested in your growth. So it's around helping you tune back into that relationship with heart, helping you tune back into your superconscious mind, and then helping you then access both the intentions and the habits that are so aligned with you that are going to take you across that river of change. Really important. And all of that is around you learning about yourself and knowing about yourself, and then knowing that going forward, this is how you operate most effectively in the world to allow your power and your light shine into the world and create greater impact and transformative change.
That's wonderful. And that's really stepping into, once we have self-awareness, then we have authenticity. And when we have authenticity, that's a wonderful way to connect with our audience. And so Ruth, do you have tips, practical insight tips that we can do right now today that's really going to help us as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as parents, as spouses, create authentic connections with the people that also build trust and loyalty along the way?
Well, I've been giving some tips. I'll give some more. The first thing is to ask you, I'm a journaler, and to ask yourself this question. If you've been hiding, that's the topic of today. If you've been holding yourself back, write down this question. What is my theory? What is holding me back from being out there, from being connected, for whatever that thing is that's missing? That's the first tip, because you have to have the awareness of what's holding you back. When you write that question in your journal, a bunch of things is going to come up, and mainly what's going to come up is your core beliefs. You have to access those core beliefs. The moment you do that, now you know what's stopping you and holding you back. So that's step number one. I use the tapping technique, which is the gift I'm giving, which will actually show you how to release that specific belief right away. The second other thing that I haven't mentioned that's going to make you more magnetic and radiate your light is I talk about Maya Angelou. To me, that is the thing that still sticks out to me today, that taught me everything about magnetic attraction, authenticity. And she said, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. So when you're designing your content, when you're presenting, really be aware, am I conscious of what feeling I'm trying to exude? It might be I'm trying to exude excitement, or it might be I'm trying to exude thought-provoking, deep introspection. Whatever that feeling is, and how am I going to convey that? Because that's what people remember, how you make them feel. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, that's perfect. Well, it's all about being. And Dr. Doreen, you know about who are we being when we are wanting to engage with people and we're wanting to create that true connection, whether it be through our eyes or through our heart. What do we get to step in? And we'll end this amazing session with the being concept that you have, that you share with us. That is just so amazing. I'd love to hear more.
Yes. Well, speaking, this is the message today, I think, is speaking is not about the doing. We aren't human doings, we're human beings. And if we begin to think that speaking is a voice that comes from a deeper part of ourselves, which is more authentic, our work as human beings here is to go through the layers of all the conditioning so that then we land in the truth of who we are. And that does take guides. And that's who we are today, is helping people with the journey to the voice within, the inner journey to heal the wounds and find our voice, so that wherever we go, like John Kabat-Zinn says, wherever you go, there you are, and you have your voice, and you could speak up to what matters most. And the last note I'd like to make right here is about listening, the power of listening to yourself, to the world around you, to the now moment. And I like this phrase, listening becomes you. We are always becoming. And it's through the listening to ourselves and to the world around us, and to listening to the essence of what is most positive, what is most beautiful, and what's calling us.
Yes, and that is so well put, well said, and we received and we heard it, and we're being completely present with everything that you've just shared, and all of you, and you all are being amazing. And I wanted to say thank you for sharing in this time with us. I think this is probably one of the most essential times that we get to embrace, because the things that were shared, we can't Google it, we can't read about it. Maybe if you guys have books, maybe we can read about it. But this is us co-creating something pretty amazing together. And I don't believe we're all going to be able to get together ever again like this. So the people that have access to this, you guys have been given a gift. and we all have been present. That's why we call it a present, right? So thank you for sharing with us in the Stop Hiding, Start Shining, Unleash Your Brilliance, Step into the Spotlight so you can shine like the superstar you truly are. This has been a wonderful event, and I am honored that you have been sharing this with me. This has been something that I have been wanting to share and have a voice about, and you've allowed me to do that. So thank you. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be on. And
You've
thank
been
you for all
hiding
your,
in the
all
shadows way too
contributions.
long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long.